Well, 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 what do we have here? We have the Suzuki Swift Sport. Now, I've been running my channel for nearly 6 years and never have I had a Suzuki on it. Is that true? Is that true? Yeah, I've never driven a Suzuki Swift or actually had a Suzuki on the channel. But what I have had an awful lot of on the channel are Abarth 595s. And in this video, I want to compare the Suzuki Swift Sport, the new one anyway, and see, does this even come close to an Abarth 595? And particularly the Abarth F595. Now, if you haven't already seen the video and you're new to the channel, the last video I took an Abarth F595 out for a bit of a drive. I had some fun with it. I also explained to my audience whether or not I would ever buy another Abarth again. But it gives me a really good opportunity to compare these two back to back and see if the Suzuki Swift Sport is even a contender. Does it even come close? Because the price of the Suzuki Swift Sport starts from around about 22,700 quid. It has a 1.4 litre turbocharged engine, although this is a mild hybrid, so actually it's a little bit better on the environment. It's cleaner on emissions and helps give it a little bit more punch just as you set off. Now, performance wise, the Suzuki Swift Sport has 130 brake horsepower and will give you 235 newton meters of torque. It is of course front wheel drive. It does have a 6-speed manual, however, which the Abarth does not, so we'll test that out in a bit. The Suzuki Swift Sport will also do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 9.1 seconds, so that's actually nearly 2 seconds slower than the Abarth F595. That said, it will still do 130 miles per hour top speed, and with thanks to the mild hybrid system, it will do 50 odd miles to the gallon. At a time where petrol prices are through the roof, that's very welcomed. Now let's quickly talk about the styling, because do you know what? I actually think this looks all right. I think it looks quite cool. Now, this car, obviously compared to the standard Suzuki Swift, the standard model is a 1.2 litre, this is a 1.4, but it also has a much more aggressive front grille, front bumper, if that makes sense. It looks quite cool. You also get 17-inch wheels on the Suzuki Swift Sport versus the standard 16s that you get on the normal Suzuki Swift. The bit I like the most about this car, though, is I like the twin exit exhaust. I think it looks cool. I think from this rear quarter angle, actually, it does look nice. It's almost a bit like an M140, and an Abarth had a bit of a love child going on here. I don't know, can you see it? Let me know in the comments below if you can see it, or is it just me? Am I going mad? Probably. The Swift Sport as well is actually quite a lot lower than the standard Swift, but we're seeing, as we're comparing it to an Abarth, actually comparing the Abarth wheel gap to that of the Swift, which is already much lower than the standard car. They're probably about the same, to be fair. However, this is where it gets interesting, because the Abarth F595, you can spec in some options. The Suzuki Swift, you actually really can't spec an awful lot. Well, you can spec a few things, but they're like 10 quid here, 10 quid there. The most expensive things that you can spec on the Suzuki Swift, you can spec a line that goes over the top, a bit of a go faster stripe. That'll cost you 300 quid. And the only other one, probably the most expensive option, is a space saver that goes in the, well, it goes in the boot. Yeah, it's underneath the boot lining. And that's 330 quid. That's basically it. So when you're looking at value for money, the Suzuki Swift Sport will stay at 22,500-ish or 22,700. And that's about it, really. If you wanted to spec the space saver and the line, you're going, what, close to 23 grand? It's pretty good value for money. The question is, though, what's the interior like and how does it drive? All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look. In fact, one thing first, what I do like, it is a 5-door, but it looks like a 2-door because they've been very clever in the rear door. And actually, rear space looks pretty good as well. There are a lot of bristle, cheap plastics, but again, people consider the price we're paying for the Swift Sport. Now, we get a little flat bottom steering wheel with some nice kind of piano black. We get some red stitching. That looks quite nice. The dials look cool. I like those. And with a 6-speed manual with... that's not too bad. We'll find out in a minute. The key for me here, the seats, they remind me of the Toyota Yaris GR seats. They're very kind of bolstery. I mean, look at that. They protrude so much. Question is, are they comfy? Yeah, they're pretty comfy. Flipping hell, the bolstering does hug you an awful lot. So if you are of a much larger build, you may find yourself extremely snug. If anything, I would say the seats that we get on the Swift are almost too sporty for the car that it is. Because 0 to 60 in 9.1 seconds, I don't know, let's see how it handles before we start to critique it, because there are some very cool things in here. So look, for the money, you get Apple CarPlay, which is very good because, I mean, I'm not being funny. Right, let's try that again. Guidance, yes. If you take a look at the sat nav, It is absolutely terrible. It really is. In fact, the whole infotainment system here is not very good. The volume is pretty cool. It's touchscreen. Oh, off you go. But really, it's all right. I mean, for the money, it's good. However, I take a comparison to the Abarth 595, and actually the Abarth, well, the Uconnect system is much better. You do get some cool cup holders here, that's good. Mechanical handbrake, always good. This is the bit that I quite like though. You can get adaptive cruise control. Well, it comes standard. It comes standard with adaptive cruise control. I mean, that is a winner. The fact that you've got cruise control in the first place, where the Abarth doesn't even have 6th gear, there are some creature comforts in this car that the Abarth definitely lacks. However, as we know with hot hatches, the most important thing is how they drive, how they feel, and that's what we're about to find out. So let's get the cameras on and yeah, let's go for a spin. It's all right, it's pretty cool. Now, immediately what I can tell you is, comparing this to an Abarth, this definitely doesn't come close, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the steering feel on this car is really, really numb. You have to really turn the car to kind of get anything really out of it. Yeah, it's not perfect. It's quite unemotional in the sound department. I wouldn't say it lacks character. I think it's definitely got character, but it's probably a different kind of character. The Abarth is much more shouted. The Abarth is, look, I'm here to be tuned, modified, and go much faster than FCA said I could, but emissions told me not to. This feels like it's kind of at the upper end of its limit. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nippy. It's nippy. The brakes all right, actually. Brakes are pretty good. The steering feel is numb. The clutch, extremely light compared to the Abarth 595, like really light. The gearing itself, it's okay. It does feel quite similar. The throw feels similar to the Abarth F595. It's not so bad. I do think that's pretty cool. In terms of the handling, look, as I said, the steering is quite numb. The suspension is pretty good. You can throw this little thing around the corners, so it's not completely... In fact, the brakes are really good for what it is. Where are we? I have no idea where we are, by the way. Oh. It really does sound like that engine is actually struggling, and I'm not really sure of what that mild hybrid system is actually doing for me, but that's okay. Let's let this big ass van through. Interior wise, look, pretty plasticky, more plasticky, and actually there's an argument to say that the Abarth 595 has got even less of that. It actually feels a lot more premium. Thank you, sir. It feels a lot more premium, which is a good thing. And actually the F595 comes in at almost the same price. If I compare this to an Abarth, it's definitely nowhere near as good. That I'll tell you straight off the bat. However, if I take the Abarth away and I kind of put this as a, you know, if I was a if I just passed my test and I was looking for a first car, actually, this definitely falls into that category because it gives you enough punch, it gives you enough fun. The seats are actually really comfortable. I really like these seats. Quite a lot, in fact. Yeah, they do have kind of Seatbelt vibes, although I'd argue that these are more comfortable than the Seatbelts. The Seatbelts are quite harsh. These actually, they support you well, but also you could probably do a decent long journey in this. Should we test the brakes out properly? Let's see, I'm going to do an emergency stop. Let's see, because these aren't Brembos, nothing like that, but I did see earlier on they were good. Let's sound the anchors. Good. So, Suzuki Swift Sport. Well, first of all, let's appreciate the car because it does look cool, but guys, look at the view. Look at this little gem spot I found. Love that. Actually, do you know what? I think this is a decent car. It's, like I said earlier on, it's definitely nowhere near as good as an Abarth, and actually the F595 pretty much outshines in most departments. The only thing where I'd say it doesn't shine is the fact that you have more creature comfort, such as the adaptive cruise control, 6th gear, etc. However, when you actually start to think about it and you encapsulate what is it that you want from a hot hatch, the Abarth does give you an awful lot more character, sound, fun factor. This is fun, but I think you have to work the car a lot harder than you do the Abarth. So in summary then, should you go and pay 22,700 quid for the Suzuki Swift Sport mild hybrid? I think if you're in the market for something that's probably going to be much cheaper to insure than the Abarth, because it's not as quick, but you want something that's fun, it will give you what you want to do, more practical, I guess, with the Abarth because it is 5 doors, then yeah, you should consider purchasing the Suzuki Swift Smart Hybrid. It's the first time I've ever driven one of these, and actually, if I'm honest with you, I think it's quite a cool little car. It's definitely, I think, quite underrated. I think the purpose of this video being a comparison probably didn't do it enough justice, but as mentioned, if you just take the Abarth element away, I think the Swift is a decent car. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please smash the like button. There are plenty of videos in the catalog, including the actual review of the F595, plenty of EV content, plenty of road trip content, including road trips to the south of France. So yeah, make sure to join the channel, follow the adventures, and I'll see you all on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.